Hi everyone, welcome to the Cybercrime YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to discuss cybersecurity at home. I'm going to give you 5 simple ways to secure your home networks and to also communicate to your family, your friends, your parents, how to secure their networks and devices. So for my background, I'm currently the Chief Information Security Officer at Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, Texas. I hold a BS in Computer Science, an MBA, and I also actively hold the CISSP, GIAC Certified Enterprise Defender, and GIAC Security Essentials certifications. So I wanted to simplify this video mainly because cybersecurity can be really complex when you apply it to a network that's really big, like the network I manage. The network I manage has over 4,000 endpoints on it, and so I've got to effectively try to secure 4,000 computers and then secure assets in the cloud. And so anyway, that's really complex to deal with, and whenever I try to, for instance, coach my parents on how to secure their devices, I try to simplify it. But in general, I've simplified this into 5 different points. So those are software updates, anti-malware, running backups on a regular basis, selectively installing software, and being really careful with phishing and phone scams. Why do you want to install software updates? So software continuously is being probed for weaknesses by hackers and by legitimate professionals. They're all looking for what are called vulnerabilities. So the good guys, if you will, are trying to find these vulnerabilities so they can plug the holes in the dam. But the bad guys are trying to find these weaknesses to effectively get through the defenses. So one thing that's really interesting about software that's vulnerable is the second a vulnerability is disclosed publicly, i.e. when it becomes known, spread via the media, hackers are already trying to break through this software, trying to find the holes, trying to get through. That makes it really important that whenever updates come out that you update regularly or update soon after. So I think in general it's really good for you to update on a monthly basis at the very least, and I think that's probably good for most people. So what do you want to update? So of course you want to update your computer, whether that's your desktop computer, laptop computer, or both, but it's also important to update your iPads, your smartphones. When you update both, make sure you update the operating system and applications. So the operating system is one component, the applications are another component. For instance, with your iPad, you'll want to update the Apple operating system, install those patches, and then go through and update your application separately. If you don't know how to do that, you can simply Google it and you'll find directions just like that. But it's important to get both and update both on a regular basis. Also, any device that's connected to the network, to the internet, i.e. your Nest thermostat, your smart TVs, your Ring camera, all of that needs to be updated. On a regular basis, you want to keep that patched. And again, the idea is that keeping these updated by no means will keep you from getting hacked, but it makes you much harder to take advantage of. So, for instance, last night I patched my Ring camera because the battery died, and so the process of getting it working again, I had to patch it. But the cool thing about doing that is now I know, okay, for the most part, I don't have to worry about a hacker keeping an eye on me or checking out the camera. And if you question whether that actually happens, do a Google search on hacked Ring cameras and you'll find all you need to know, all the evidence you need to patch your Ring camera. The next component I recommend is installing anti-malware software. You often hear this referred to as antivirus software. It's important to install this on your desktop computer, your laptop computer. This certainly is not a guarantee or a silver bullet that you won't get infected, but it's definitely a great extra layer of defense. Something to keep in mind is whenever you install the anti-malware software, typically after about a year or so, the software will go out of date. Make sure that you're paying for it if you're paying for it. If it's free, make sure you're keeping it updated. And yeah, there is legitimate free anti-malware software. Microsoft's got some great stuff. I believe there's a company called AVG that has some good stuff. But definitely install anti-malware software. This next piece is often not considered part of security, but I really think it is. For you security practitioners or the folks of you out there that want to practice security in the future, there's a concept called the CIA triad that stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Under the availability component of the triad fall backup. So basically making sure that your data is still available whenever you want it and your computer is available when you need it. So backups protect you in the case of a worst case. So consider, for instance, if your computer were to crash or die. In that case, what would you do? If you have backups, you can go back and restore that data. You'll have a copy of it. If you can fix your computer, you can fix it and then plug in your external hard drive. If your computer dies, though, you'll have to plug the external hard drive into a new computer. The challenge becomes when you don't have the backups, then you have to go to a third party, a company, to restore that damaged hard drive and hope they can do it. I've definitely seen a company have to pay, choose not to pay, but they were basically made an offer of $10,000 to restore data from a damaged hard drive. The company chose not to pay after all, but if you go to one of those services, be prepared to pay in the hundreds or if not thousands of dollars to get your data back. And so, long story short, it's a lot easier for you to pay $50 for an external hard drive and back up there. There are cloud hosted services you can use for backups, and I think those are great. They're good. That's definitely one avenue you can take to back up your data. Something else I recommend is if you do use external hard drives, keep the external hard drives disconnected. And that's mainly because of malware and especially ransomware. So ransomware has been in the news lately. I made a video about this, but the Colonial Pipeline in the US was shut down for a few days because their network was infected with ransomware. And so the good thing about having backups that are disconnected is that if ransomware infects your entire network, the hard drives that stay disconnected won't be infected. And of course that means, if your network is infected, don't go and plug your hard drive in until you know it's clean. But again, the backups provide you with insurance in case the worst case happens. So this next item is something I speak about because I've seen this happen a lot, even on company networks, but it's important to be careful what you install on your computers and be selective about it. So I've definitely seen many cases on corporate networks where people will install software they shouldn't be installing on a business computer. These two categories that I've listed are browser add-ons and couponing software. I should have put free software here, but in general, think of any kind of free software you download and install as having a big asterisk next to it, a big caveat, because oftentimes it's free because you're in turn turning over or agreeing to turn over data that you're processing on the software, or you're agreeing to have advertisements or pop-ups come up on your computer in return for having the free software. And of course, you'd see all this if you were to read the license agreement that's presented to you, but like most people, I click OK right through that. So just be careful with those. Be careful with browser add-ons too, because browser add-ons will oftentimes slow your computer down. In general, I think it's a good rule of thumb if the software is not from Microsoft or Adobe or one of the big legitimate companies out there, big well-known companies, just be really careful. If you're not sure, go ahead and throw the software's name into Google, see what comes up, see if people complain about it. If you're more advanced, if you're more technical, go to the VirusTotal website and upload the software there. It'll scan it past 50 anti-malware scanners and let you know, hey, is this legit or not? So the last piece I want to talk about is phishing and phone scams. In general, when you receive email that's from somebody you don't know or somebody you know but it's unexpected, just be really careful. In a phishing scam, an attacker will basically prey on the recipient and try to trick them into believing that the sender is somebody else. One scam I can think of is the scam where somebody will act like somebody and basically hijack an email account and say, hey, I got stuck in England, for instance, and I don't have any money. Can you wire me $300 so I can get home? And again, it's very unusual. So very unusual. There's often urgency, like in this case, I need your money to get back home. If you have any question about scams like this, a great way to get through all the haziness and questionability is to call the person who sent it. Say, hey, did you really send this? And most of the time you'll find out, okay, this is not legitimate. Even if you go and talk to somebody else ask them about the email, run the email by them, they'll tell you, okay, hey, this doesn't look legitimate. Phishing scams will often have links embedded in them where you'll be asked to click the link, enter your personal data, and submit it. This could be in the form of somebody acting like your bank saying, hey, we need your bank information, your bank account. If you don't enter it, we're going to inactivate your account. And again, there is that sense of urgency. If you don't enter this data right now, soon, we're going to deactivate your account. If you think through this and pause a little bit, you could think, okay, why don't I call the bank and check and make sure, is this legitimate or not? Phone scams are also widespread. I've seen these happen at work. I've seen these happen at home. In this case, I wanted to bring up a situation with relatives of mine who had a company call them, or purported company call them. It was actually a hacker. Call them and tell them their computer's acting up, so they needed to get remote access. My relative then allowed them to connect remotely to their computer, do who knows what, and then my relative paid them for their services $200 or $300 on a credit card. And it was after that $200 or $300 payment they realized, okay, this doesn't look legitimate. So in general, legitimate companies won't call you to ask for remote access. You're going to have to call them for help. In that case that, for instance, your computer's acting up or your internet's not working, you've got to typically call them. They're not going to be calling you. Something else that's important to know, that legitimate companies won't call you to ask for sensitive personal information. So if you get a phone call from a random number and they say that they're the bank or they're your investment company, just keep in mind they've already got all your data. That they needed all your data to set up your account, to pull money from your checking account and so forth. So a legit company won't ask for your information. If you have any doubts about that, about a phone call you get, it's always an option to hang up on the criminal. Of course, I encourage you to hang up, but you can hang up and then call your bank, call your investment firm, ask them, hey, is this legit or not? If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.